Hello, and welcome to the Table and Well podcast. I'm Tennison.
And I'm Ginelle. Thank you for joining us as we discuss topics and give practical tools that help you live, grow, and be in healthy, joy-filled relationship with God, yourself, and others.
For more information and resources, or if you're looking for coaching, connection, and community, please visit tableandwellco.com. We hope you enjoy this podcast. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for episode number 13 of the Table and Well podcast. As always, please feel free to download and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And if you enjoy watching, I say it like an afterthought, it's so not an afterthought. If you enjoy watching the podcast, please do so at our YouTube channel, which is at Table and Well Co. So today, we're going to be continuing our conversation with Steve and Lisa. And it's been really fun just even kind of go back and to re-listen as I'm walking through these and editing and things like that, just to hear and relive some of those moments has been really, really awesome. If you haven't listened to the last two, I encourage you to go back and do that as well. But today we're going to spend some time talking about just the beautiful things that happen when you continue to come back to the table and continue to be there and you bring your authentic self to the table. There's this sense of safety and belonging and connectedness that happens when you keep coming back, even with all your flaws and all your joy, all of your mess, all your humanity. It's just a great place to be, and this beautiful transformation that even happens in your soul, the people around you, when you continue to come back to the table and bring your full self. We're also going to talk a little bit about this really interesting revelation in this episode, in this part of the conversation that we're talking about, how because of the rhythms and how they're set up, it's really a place of self-discovery inside of community. So we're not, again, we talked about it before, we're not fixing. Even if you check in heavy, there's no fix, there's no offering of advice or anything that you don't ask for at the table, but it's a place where you can actually self-discover and find yourself, find what the Lord has for you in the middle of your mess, in the middle of your joy, in the middle of all of the things, and just the beauty that takes place and happens in that space. So again, guys, here is Stories from the Table with Lisa and Steve.
Yeah, to create an opportunity where you allow people to unlock themselves and explain their journey and where they're at. And again, those curious questions allow them to open up in their time and their willingness. Mm-hmm. But that authenticity draws that out. It kind of facilitates that curiousness to, like you were saying, Ginelle, about like I'm honored to be here. I want to hear this. I want to be with you in this. Mm-hmm. It's a really sweet thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think too, in that idea of, Steve, what you're saying, it draws out kind of where they're at, those curious questions, mm-hmm. does that. But what it also does, I really feel like it enables that person, whoever it is, to grab hold of that revelation for themselves, mm-hmm. in the moment of whatever it might be, in that transformation, mm-hmm. moment, in that whatever it is, because we're, again, at the table, we're not fixing, we're just being present, and then asking curious questions. And then if they ask, as we do, we ask if we can listen to Jesus and pray, or whatever it might be, but it's for them to receive and for them to grab that revelation for themselves and then be able to walk that out for themselves. They own it. It becomes more of their thing, as opposed to, Steve, you check in heavy, and then I say, well, here's what you should do to fix that. And you're like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. But to sit with you in that, and then to maybe ask if we can ask some curious questions, and we do that, and you begin to talk, and then things become unlocked, and then it's different.
Mm-hmm. It's like a discover with is what's coming to mind. Mm-hmm. Like we discover with one another. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good. Yeah. I'm curious, when I feel like a lot of what we've talked about is this idea of what happens in a moment, but what also happens over time. and how even this idea of sharing our feelings at the table and checking in, that the one-time experience of that becomes almost an invitation to do it again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to take a moment to talk about the benefit of the again and again, and how that is different than what it might look like to come once and share heart once and then go away. Because I think we can do this so easily in our relationship with the Lord. I don't know about you guys, but it can be easy to be in a tough space and somewhat dump the dump truck, right? And then not come back when things are just normal, or when maybe I'm not in as much pain where I'm desperate, but just to come back in the mundane part of my journey and still share my heart. And even come back after I've shared really hard parts of my life or heavy parts of my life. Shared celebrations last week that maybe this week have faded, and now life is challenging again, or maybe I've even lost sight of the celebration.
And you have to check in.
And I have to face the people who I was like, life is great. Because it kind of is like that. The journey can be like that. And a lot of it is just even our perspective. Curious about that. Talk to me about what that's been like, even in the course of the collab. It was 12 weeks this time around. And that was an experiment for us to have people walk 12 weeks every single week with people, with each other. Talk to me a little bit about that. What comes to mind?
I think for me, what comes to mind with that is when people before, like the before and after, before, if someone asks, hey, how are you? My brain automatically would go to kind of an inventory of my day or things that to me that matter, and like what's going well, what's not, and what needs fixed. Like my analytical brain would kick in to give them the summary of how Lisa is like. And now
based on the facts,
right? Based on the facts and where they're at now and where I think they should be. And
I understand that pain,
which can be pretty rough because life is very rarely meeting all, like checking all the boxes, right? And now when I think of kind of how is Lisa, I'm like, okay, how am I feeling in my body? Like, what are my emotions? What emotion can I name that emotion? Like for me, the journey from how are you being that inventory to how are you being like, wow, okay, I do have feelings. How am I feeling right now? I'm actually feeling some anxiousness. What is that? What is that attached to? And to recognize our inheritance in him is to walk in peace. So we have the Prince of Peace living in us. And so if I'm experiencing anxiety, I can like find my way back to what was that lie. But I think for me, just that connection of what is actually going on with me that was huge. I think that's from my first check-in to my more recent ones. That's been a big transition.
Do you think that is attributed to not having to, but being invited to do that over and over and over again, and witnessing other people digging too and doing the work too of trying to really find a genuine feeling to present to the group?
Absolutely. Like even with the practice of appreciation, like it fed my analytical side for us to look at, okay, what does checking in with starting with appreciation do for our brains and our neurochemicals and all that? So that kind of helped convince me to step up to the table. But then, we check with appreciation. I just remember like, okay, yeah, I'm just thankful it's sunny today. End of appreciation. And then to hear somebody else come in with an appreciation that was so full of sights and sounds and senses and like 3D Technicolor. And I thought, wow, that's, and so at first I was kind of like, oh gosh, okay, this is like going back to creative writing, which is not really my deal. But I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I sat down and really tried to, with my appreciation journal, check in with, okay, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What am I, and then what's the emotion? Can I name that? And then experiencing, like reading that out loud. And it was like, wow. So I think the practice is absolutely critical, because if you would have just left me on my own, because I think the fact that gratitude and appreciation is helpful for our brain chemistry is no secret.
Right.
I've heard that in lots of other places, but to walk through it in that way, there's a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think too, just experiencing it, like hearing it is one thing, and knowing that, okay, yep, 5 minutes of gratitude, think of it, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. It does this. But then, like you're saying before, like you're saying before too, it's like the how to and the why behind it. It's like, so this is when we are appreciative, when we express gratitude, this is what's happening in our brain. It's doing this. Our seeds are turning on. We're able to receive it. It brings us joy. It allows us to endure hardship well. It creates like all these different things, and like, okay, this is the different level of just think of something really nice for 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And for those of us who lived our whole lives in our left brains and then are just discovering this, it does take that of like, okay, but why? Because if not, this just feels trite to me.
That was really helpful for me. And I remember like us hitting just kind of a rough patch, a rough discussion, and being able to find our way back to joy through gratitude. Where he's like, okay, well, what's your gratitude? It's nice outside. He's like, another one, deeper. He's like, I think gratitude is a deep well, and you need to go back with your bucket.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Take another scoop. Take another scoop.
I was like, okay.
That's good. So Steve, how about you in that same question? Just the idea of continuing to come back and to show up with your, kind of dig a little deeper into your real self as you have to check in. Like, what was that like for you?
Again, I come back to this idea of like a partnership, with everybody, with others involved in the table, in the community experience. And that I don't want to say, it's not like necessarily, it's not an obligation. It's like a heartfelt commitment that I'm going to come and bring my authentic self and open up about how I'm feeling, and also knowing that the other people in my community at my table are going to do the same. And it's okay that we've established this tribe with one another, that it's okay. I'm not accountable to how I felt last time, and I don't have to masquerade like everything's okay, or because I have this connection with each of the individuals that no matter how I come, I know that they're going to be present with me. And they're going to stand in that place with me. And they know that I will do the same for them. And there's no like, well, what do you mean? Last week you were, it's like, hey, right now I hear where you're at, and that's heavy. And we're gonna listen to Jesus in this, or we're gonna pray, and we're gonna stand in this place with you. And I think even like for just ourselves being our own like CO2s with each other, like we'll be walking or something like that and say, okay, it's time for check-in, and to know, like, it's not, again, we talked about this kind of transactional block thing where it's how are you? I'm fine, like the person at across from the register of the grocery store, but it is like literally like, let's check in, where are you at? And my mind starts to go to, the wheel. Like I'm starting to engage like, okay, where am I at? And like Lisa was saying, like you guys have said, okay, I'm feeling this. Why am I feeling that? What's deeper than that? I mean, it's kind of, funny how God works, in God's timing, because, we've been married now for almost 28 years. And earlier in our relationship, Lisa would say, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm fine." She's like, "And deeper, level one, deeper." I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm feeling okay now." But to realize, like, wow, okay. Yeah, Ginelle, like you were saying, we're digging. We're kind of doing this dig. I got the picture of like an archaeologist dig. You got kind of like the little tools, and you're kind of scraping stuff away, and you're finding this really treasured, valued article that's there, and it's maybe it's there and it's deep and it's away because there's some hurt or some wound or something that for years is covered up, but we're going to expose it gently, and we're going to find out what it is, and again, with an archaeological dig or a piece, you pull it out and you're like, wow, we really need to honor this. This has meaning. So even that joy or that pain that we've kind of opened up and extracted together, we're going to honor that. We're like, okay, this is an important piece of your story and your history, and we're going to value that.
So good.
And take it to God. Let's take this to God, and again, if it's a joy, let's celebrate this, and if it's a sorrow or a wound, let's just ask God to just bring peace to this, bring healing to this.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. It's like I picture when you're describing that archaeological dig. That's a hard word.
Yeah. Let's work on our phonetics today.
But like I just picture someone next to them like blowing it off, like as you're digging, there's a blowing process to like uncover, or sweeping away. And I feel like others at the table, like that's the gift we bring as our breath. On whatever is there, so that it can be more clearly seen.
And especially I think in the the question of what do you want from the group, or what would you like from the group, the question of or the invitation of, would you like us to share our experience with this, not how do you want us, let me tell you how I can fix this, but wow, I've walked in that place, or I know that feeling, and this is how God met me there, and how I was changed or grew or healed from that. I think is again, like you were saying, Ginelle, that's that person right there with you in that, to just offer that breath of hope, the breath of promise, the breath of healing, the breath of company.
Yeah, I love that, and listening to you even just talk about and explain, just some of the things that happened at our table, and then also in our virtual table or in our collab. It just really excites me because we're moving into another season where we're going to be doing actual virtual tables where you guys came together around material and skills and growth that way. But our round tables, as they're called, are going to be around exactly that, a committed group of people that are we're going to meet together, and we're going to breathe together and help uncover and help discover and do this life together, and know that literally this virtual table, this round table, is the table of my community in the presence of my enemies, whatever those enemies might be, to where you can grow in that deep, connected, authentic relationship with one another, where like you said, Steve, where you can come in there either on the top of the world or below it, and know that these people are going to be present with me and do life with me, and not try to fix me, but just be with me in this. And if I would like, they can give me some really cool insight into what the Lord's saying about this over my life, and pray into this with me. And so I'm excited
walk and
that.
Be witness to my journey.
You've been listening to the Table and Well podcast. New episodes stream every Tuesday. To begin your journey to relational health, please go to tableandwellco.com and join our new online community. Or you can sign up for Connections 101, formerly called Community 101. Again, we invite you to join our online community at tableandwellco.com.